Addiction is a word we hear constantly, yet it's often misunderstood. People think of it as a lack of willpower or a series of bad choices, but in reality, addiction is far more complex. It's a condition that involves the brain, the body, and the environment. So what is addiction really? Welcome to Sober Space, your go-to place for all things sobriety. Whether you're just starting your recovery journey, supporting a loved one, or simply curious, today's topic will give you a deep understanding of addiction from a scientific perspective. We'll break down how it develops, what it does to the brain, and most importantly, how recovery works. If you've ever wondered why addiction happens and why it's so hard to overcome, stick around. Let's uncover the truth behind addiction and explore the hope that lies in recovery. At its core, addiction is a chronic disorder characterized by compulsive behaviors despite harmful consequences. While it's commonly associated with substances like alcohol and drugs, addiction can also manifest in behaviors like gambling, gaming, or even shopping. But here's the key. Addiction isn't just about liking something too much. It's a brain disorder. It hijacks the brain's reward system, altering the way we experience pleasure, motivation, and decision-making. Let's break it down. In a healthy brain, the reward system is activated when you do something pleasurable, like eating good food or spending time with loved ones. Your brain releases dopamine, the feel-good chemical, creating a sense of satisfaction. In an addicted brain, substances or behaviors flood the brain with dopamine, far more than natural rewards ever could. Over time, the brain adjusts by reducing dopamine receptors, meaning you need more of the substance or behavior to feel the same effect. This cycle of chasing diminishing rewards is what fuels addiction. To truly understand addiction, we need to look at three key parts of the brain. First, the prefrontal cortex, the decision-making center. It helps you weigh consequences and make rational choices. In addiction, this area becomes less active, making it harder to resist cravings or think about long-term consequences. Next is the limbic system, the emotional center of the brain. It's responsible for feelings of pleasure, fear, and reward. In addiction, the limbic system becomes overactive, making the substance or behavior seem more important than anything else in life. Finally, there's the midbrain, which is focused on survival. It drives behaviors like eating, drinking, and reproducing. Addiction tricks the midbrain into treating the addictive substance as a survival necessity, which is why it can feel impossible to resist. Addiction physically rewires the brain. It's not just a matter of willpower. It's a condition that changes how your brain functions at a fundamental level. Not everyone who drinks alcohol or gambles becomes addicted. So why does addiction affect some people and not others? Genetics play a significant role. Studies suggest that up to 50% of a person's risk of developing an addiction is due to genetic factors. If addiction runs in your family, you might have a higher predisposition. Environmental factors like stress, trauma, and peer influence also play a critical role. Growing up in an unstable household, experiencing abuse, or being surrounded by substance use can increase your risk. Addiction and mental health are deeply interconnected. Conditions like depression, anxiety, or PTSD can make people more vulnerable to addiction, as they may turn to substances or behaviors to cope. The younger you are when you're exposed to addictive substances or behaviors, the higher the risk of developing an addiction. This is because the brain is still developing, making it more susceptible to long-term changes. Addiction isn't about weakness. It's about a combination of genetic, environmental, and psychological factors coming together in a perfect storm. One of the biggest challenges in understanding addiction is the stigma surrounding it. Society often views addiction as a moral failing or a lack of self-control. But this perspective is outdated and harmful. Addiction is a medical condition, not a character flaw. Viewing it through the lens of shame only makes it harder for people to seek help. Think about it this way. We don't shame people for having diabetes or asthma. Why should addiction be any different? Shifting the narrative from blame to compassion is crucial for supporting those in recovery. Now that we understand what addiction is and how it affects the brain, let's talk about recovery. Recovery isn't just about stopping the addictive behavior. It's about rewiring the brain, rebuilding relationships, and creating a life worth living. The first step is often detox, where the body is cleared of the addictive substance. This process can be physically and emotionally challenging, but it's a necessary starting point. Therapy is a cornerstone of recovery. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, for example, helps individuals identify and change negative thought patterns that fuel addiction. Group therapy provides a sense of community and accountability. In some cases, medication can be used to support recovery. For example, methadone or buprenorphine can help with opioid addiction, while naltrexone can reduce alcohol cravings. Recovery often involves adopting new habits and routines. Exercise, meditation, and creative outlets can all help in rebuilding a sense of purpose and joy. Having a strong support system is critical. This can include family, friends, sponsors, or support groups like Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. Recovery is a lifelong journey, but with the right tools and support, it's entirely possible. One of the most inspiring aspects of addiction recovery is the concept of neuroplasticity. This is the brain's ability to rewire itself and form new neural connections. No matter how deeply entrenched an addiction might feel, the brain has the capacity to heal. With time, effort, and support, individuals can retrain their brains to prioritize healthy behaviors over addictive ones. This is why recovery is always possible, no matter how long someone has struggled. Addiction thrives in isolation, but recovery flourishes in connection. Being part of a supportive community can make all the difference. Support groups provide a space where individuals can share their experiences without judgment. Hearing others' stories can remind you that you're not alone and that recovery is possible. Building a community doesn't have to be limited to formal groups. It can also include reconnecting with family, finding sober friends, or volunteering in your local area. Recovery isn't just about breaking free from addiction. It's about reclaiming your life. It's about waking up every day with clarity, building meaningful relationships, and pursuing goals that matter to you. The journey isn't always easy, but the rewards are profound. Recovery allows you to rediscover who you are beneath the addiction and live a life of authenticity and purpose. Addiction is a complex condition, rooted in the brain's biology, shaped by genetics and environment, and fueled by a combination of factors. But understanding addiction also opens the door to understanding recovery, a process that's challenging, transformative, and deeply rewarding. If you're struggling with addiction or supporting someone who is, know this: recovery is always possible. With the right knowledge, tools, and support, you can overcome addiction and build a life you're proud of. Thank you for watching, and if you found this video helpful, please like, comment, and subscribe to Sober Space. Together, let's continue to break the stigma and support each other on the journey to recovery. Remember, addiction might be a chapter in your story, but it doesn't have to be the ending.